I'm trying to turn my video off.
All right, good evening. Everybody hear us out there? Christina? Anybody hear us?
Mary, yeah, I can hear you. This is Christina.
Christina. All right, this time it is 5:32. Please mute your phone calls. A friendly reminder, please turn off all cell phones except for emergency push. Finding up the regular notice. Let's see. Finding the agenda we're posting in accordance with Idaho Code 74204 within 48 hours prior to the meeting at the city of Bellevue City Hall, the post office, and on the city's website. Email to Idaho Mountain Express on January 18th, 2024. Actually, can we do a roll first, please?
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
President Jordan?
Yes.
Member Carrero?
Yes.
Member Leahy?
Yes.
Member Mahoney?
Yes.
Yay.
Member Shea?
Yes.
Member Oberlin?
Yes.
All right. Now finding that notice and agenda of compliance.
I move that the notice for the January 22nd, 2024 regular meeting was completed in accordance with Idaho Code Section 74-204.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Call for conflict. Does anybody have any issues with the agenda? All right. At this time, I'll open up public comment for items on items of concern not on the agenda. I'm gonna kick this off a bit. We're getting some comments from Casey about people complaining about the roads and doing this additional plowing. We understand that if we don't do it and it freezes, you're gonna complain. If we do it and we block up your driveway again, you're gonna complain. We understand it's kind of living up here. We're just trying to get the best crews out there to get the snow off. So when the ice comes in or when future snows come in, we're ahead of the game and trying to keep ahead of it versus previous years. So please work with us. We're not going out our way to make more work for you in your own driveways. We also do want you to understand that we cannot be blowing snow back into the streets. We've had a couple issues where it's got elevated to the marshal's office. Casey and his crew, they're just doing what they're supposed to be doing. It isn't a regulation. They're just giving you advice. And I understand Casey's personality and some of the reports I get back, I doubt he's being very strong-handed with anyone. So if it's getting to the marshal level, I hope you can resolve it because I really don't want to get involved with it. I'm probably have the least customer service skills of all our staff. So work with our officers, work with Casey and his crew, and we're just trying to make sure that the streets are open for everybody. We can get the buses in and out, people can get to work, and just trying to keep everything moving forward. So give my guys a break. We're doing it for you, please. Any other business not on the agenda?
I was curious, Mayor, if we had anybody from staff or city council who was going to go to the new highway project meeting.
Myself and Casey have been
Okay.
following those, and we're trying to stay on
Great.
top of those. But if anybody is interested, and if anybody is interested in certain meetings, email me, tell me what your interests are. We'll get you on the committee. I've asked a few staff and a few council members to support a few of our discussions with developers and a few other things. But if you have special interests that you'd like to be involved with, as long as we keep it under a quorum, I'm happy to have you guys on board. So.
Is this the one that's going on tomorrow that you're talking about,
I
the public
don't
one?
recall the date, but I
Okay.
believe so, yeah.
Okay.
It is a public one, yeah.
I was planning to go to the public one because I'm just interested in,
Yeah.
yeah,
Great.
yeah, if that's all right, Chris. Okay.
I was gonna potentially go to the one tomorrow too.
Fantastic. Looking forward to
I think we'll be
hearing some
represented.
feedback.
Yeah.
Then I was also curious if, how the housing, our little house.
At this
Anyone?
time, we don't have any interest in staff using it. The one staff member that is interested, it doesn't meet her family needs. But it is open. I think Arch is gonna look for our next options to use that, and I'm not sure exactly what that is. But
Will that be presented to us then?
I think since we do own the property, we should have some say in at least what's going on there. So it is my intention to bring it forward to the council,
Okay.
yes.
That's all I have.
Any other items of concern? Not on the agenda? Anybody online? Items of concern not on the agenda? All right, not seeing any at this time, I'll go ahead and close public comment. No unfinished business, so I'll kick it over to Chief Beaver for some presentation to our firefighters.
Okay, thanks. So every year we do firefighter of the year, and how that works is, every quarter, our officers, which is Trent and Amberly sitting in here right now, and Anson. Sorry, Anson. They, choose a person, so then at our Christmas party, we have a sheet with hopefully 4, usually there's only 3 or 4. not more than 4, but this year we had 3. And then everybody showing up votes. And this year was Nick Shell. And he gets a plaque for his helmet, and I'm not gonna give him that. I'm gonna put it on his helmet, because the last time he was firefighter of the year, he didn't put it on his helmet. Then he gets a new little plaque that I carved out this morning. Not really. And then a certificate that he can hang on his wall in his bedroom or whatever. Congratulations. And then the last time, or the last validation talks or whatever, they told in 2011, they recommended that we do lengths of service. And so we've been doing that for quite a while now. And Trent Shoemaker has 30 years, probably more than that, but officially 30 years. And he gets a little 30-year pin for his uniform and a plaque that says congratulations. And you gotta hold it together. Thanks, you guys.
I don't think I'm old enough to have 30 years.
You're old enough now.
Thank you for everything you all do for us.
Awesome.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate your service, and find some more recruits.
We were hoping for help with that.
All right. Moving on, consent agenda. We got 2 items on it tonight, common council meeting minutes from January 8th and approval of claims January 9th through January 22nd.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I reviewed the packet materials yesterday and read the minutes very thoroughly, and there were some corrections that I went over with Michelle this afternoon so that I could save some time for all of us.
And from our discussion, it was primarily just some spelling corrections and just nothing of actual meat, but just some overview stuff.
Yeah, okay, correct. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Mhm.
Any other comments on minutes or claims?
I did have a question, maybe just one moment. Keller Associates,
Yes.
how much longer are we?
That one's for like 3,500 around there.
Yeah, 26 plus another 725. I'm just.
That should be our final payout to them. I had a meeting with them this week, and we're just wrapping up the final claims and stuff. And so this was, for some of the work they did on our permitting, it's within what the original scope of work, and they've actually, we're still under the total committed bill that we had processed with them. So I think we're still below about 15, maybe even close to 20,000, which they did not use. But mine will close out for Keller.
Okay, thank you.
Mary, I also had a question. On 51073 contract labor, it shows a Strayhorn subdivision in the amount of 1475, and I just want to make sure that Jeff Hafley is getting billed for that.
Correct.
And then also I see on line item 52-100 on the phones, it looks like Ashley is still in there, and I don't know if that's.
So we've had, with the changeover, with changes of staff, I signed a letter for Shelley to have control over the phone bill, and so she was able to present that to AT&T. It's something that we've been looking over now for the last 3 or 4 months, trying to get a handle of whose phones aren't used, trying to reduce that bill, trying to get on top of everything. And so it's just, we are making progress on that. It's just been slow.
Yeah, I just, even though it's only $50,
No.
that's a lot of money to us.
So we're looking at to, in the future, if staff comes and goes or phone is not being used, we can just put it on pause without being billed, and we can start it back up if needed. So we are looking at that. The phone bill was one of the first things that we really did look at, because there was so many between our cradles, between individual phones, between computers. I want to say it's close to what, $2-3 grand?
It's $1,600 a month.
So we're
I'm
trying,
working on it.
we are trying to reduce that, making sure that we are only using phones that we need. And, you know, I have requested that the council keep theirs just because of, you know, privacy. And if something gets asked and they want our phones, we do all our business on our city phones, so your personal phone doesn't get compromised. So we're trying to get everybody, both you and Jessica, your phones as quickly as we can. Just with AT&T, it's just been a slow process.
Yeah, I mean, none of this is criticism, it's just, you know.
No.
Yeah.
No, one thing I found out, and we all.
Actually noticed that too, so.
Anything that we try to do at the city level does not happen overnight. I mean, we've had problems with getting her, Shelley, full access to QuickBooks and getting into all the different things we need there, so we get all the reports that we need. We sign letters that give her authorization, and then they say, well, that's not the right letter. And so it's just fighting through it. And we're day to day, we're getting slowly, we're moving forward, so. we'll get
Mr.
there.
Mayor, just that, I was looking actually with how we're being charged for each individual cell line. Has anybody looked into a different provider? Because
We did. So
Okay.
before we were with Verizon, and then when we switched to FirstNet, which is something that cities and first responder groups can get to, it actually saved us quite a bit of money. And this is why we expanded our footprint. Before, we were getting about a third of the services that we're getting for a greater price. So it has been looked at. We can reevaluate it again, but right now, the FirstNet is probably our best option. We just need to trim up our lines a bit if we can.
And FirstNet is also a service that the responders can, it stays up when normal service goes down.
Oh,
So
And that goes
that's
for
why,
everybody's phone too, which is kind of nice.
okay. Good to know, thank you.
Oh, I had
Even when-
just seen the code enforcement one, so that was my question also, along with Ashley, so. That was it.
even when AT&T went down, I still had service.
Service,
I did, some of the other people didn't.
I did,
but
yeah, but I'm glad you did.
yeah.
Good to know.
It did save us quite a bit. I should be on that account
yeah,
still
you're on
too,
there. Mhm.
but,
Mhm.
you know, I mean, cause I could call my guys and get it if we needed to, but, yeah.
It's just reassigning administrative duties on certain things, and just trying to get all the paperwork into AT&T, so we're covering our side and their side, just the process.
I have a question, this is probably for Shelley. Under our equipment leases, there's a second line item for Wells Fargo Vendor Financial Services. What are those fees that we're seeing there?
What, if you tell me the amount,
We've got one for $552.81, $138.20, $138.20. They're for like the Bobcat
yeah.
rentals. Are they,
We still have the old Bobcat lease was to January 15th.
okay,
So the smaller amounts, that's split 3 ways. So that's that lease. And then the other one is the rental.
okay. So the Toolcat installment is an old one and then the rental's the new?
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
The larger one is the new one.
Oh, my head.
Any other discussion on the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second,
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Oh,
Councilmember Carrero,
Yes.
Councilmember Leahy,
Yes.
Councilmember Shea,
Yes.
Councilmember Mahoney,
Okay,
Councilmember Obanoff,
Yes.
Councilmember, President Giordani.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm missing somebody. Sorry.
I think that was all.
I think you're
Did
good.
all of
Okay,
them.
yeah, sorry, I'm all like looking at my list, I thought I lost somebody.
You're good.
All right, thank you, everyone. All right, new business, presentation and acceptance of the City of Bellevue financial statements, year ended September 2023. Mr. Brown of Workman and Company.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Dennis Brown. I represent Workman and Company Certified Public Accountants. We concluded our audit of the financial statements of the City of Bellevue, Idaho for the year ended September 30th, 2023. We issued our unqualified or clean opinion dated November the 14th. I want to make a couple of observations, but just before I forget, as part of our audit procedures, we read the minutes to ensure that the council is doing proper oversight. And so we love the discussion that you just had. That is really an indication that you are properly managing your duties and your fiduciary responsibility as the ultimate authority in the city. And it's your financial responsibility, and we just love that. So my applaud to you. We love seeing discussion of bills and questions, so perfect. A couple of things I wanted to address and then answer any questions that you might have. Last year, you budgeted to expend almost $700,000 of your reserves, but you only did a little under $300,000, $293,000, okay? Any number of reasons. When projects go out for bid, sometimes we can't get them under budget, and so therefore they have to be tabled. Sometimes we just can't find people to do the work. A lot of them have to do with projects that are ongoing that we just have to kind of push forward. So that's excellent, because it still gives you a little under $600,000 as of September 30th of carryover reserves for the future. And that's about 25% of your annual expenditures in the general fund. And that's fairly consistent with small cities in Idaho that we see. Anywhere from 20 to 30% is an excellent carryover, and it gives you a buffer and good cash flow. We always wonder if we're going to have something major comes along before our first infusion of our property tax revenues, which is the bulk of our revenues, in January, and having that carryover reserve helps us not to have any sleepless nights. So that looks very good. The other comment I wanted to make was on the utility funds, which are for-profit enterprises in cities. They have to make a profit because they have to replace themselves. And so we have to generate enough revenue, not only to pay off existing debt on some previous upgrades, but also to accumulate money for future. And so last year, both the water and the wastewater increased their cash deposits. That's always a good sign, because that means that all of the debt payments were made and all of the expenses were made, and we still had a carryover reserve. So again, very positive, very positive. And finally, the URA is included in one of the financial statement presentations, and it is really right now just accumulating money. That a couple of years ago, we had some crosswalk projects. And so we get about $105,000 a year in property taxes, and then we have some interest revenue, which is a little higher this past year. Everybody's excited for that. We've been going along for years and years in our reserves, making little or no interest. And last year, across the board, all of our cities and other government organizations made some much more significant interest on their reserves. So we have that as well in the URA as well. And so, we had like $120,000 worth of revenue, we had a few expenses. And so there was a good carryover in there of $177,000. And so that's growing, and that's, we don't as auditors get into your next year, what you're going to do. And so that, you may have a project that you're going to do in 2024, but that's included on page 13, 12 and 13 of your financial statements. I'll entertain any questions that you might have.
Here's a copy if anyone needs to see anything.
Any questions?
All right, we don't take exception to no questions. Some of the jargon in the financial statements is a little out of sync with, if some of you are business operators and you have some of the jargon and some of the presentations are a little strange. So we as auditors always recommend that if you have questions, give our office a call. We can talk to you one-on-one. We don't have any open meeting problems with that. And answer any of your questions on some of the strangeness in some of the financial presentations. Always happy to do that.
Thank you, Dennis. Really appreciate the presentation.
I just wanted to make a statement that I appreciated the document and all the explanations, and I thought it was very thorough and easy to understand for layman's terms in a way.
Good, okay.
Yeah. The only question I had, but we could dive into this another time, was just you breaking out the governmental activities versus the business type activities, and what the reason was to show how those two function within the government, or your reason for breaking them out in
There
this
is,
document.
there absolutely is. The enterprise funds or the water wastewater proprietary funds, but they're for-profit funds, have to be shown separate of the general operating funds of the city, which includes the fire and the police and the city council and the finance department and those streets, parks and rec, all those types of things are general funds. The for-profit for the water and wastewater have to be put that way under governmental auditing standards or generally accepted governmental accounting standards. We have to put these things together in a certain way. We want to do that so that future users of the financial statements that are looking, if we have to go out for more financing, they need those separate because they have to look at those to determine if you're creditworthy. Or if, are we gonna buy your bonds if you go out for a bond issue? And so that's separate.
I found it really helpful to kind of see the city in the pockets that it has in the different categories, so
Yeah.
I appreciated that breakout.
You'll notice that depreciation is on that.
Yes.
What are we depreciating, right?
Yeah.
That's, a lot of the fixed assets of the water wastewater, we have to depreciate them over a certain amount of time.
Wonderful.
So I commend you on your good work, and I want to also shout out to your finance department, especially with Shelley coming on board. After a few months of void and really got things organized and auditable for us in the fall. So you've got good people. We hope we can all keep happy. But we applaud your whole organization, so good job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And you'll notice it's an action item, might recommend, help you understand. The city has to approve the audit so that Shelley can then send it to the state. They have a repository of all of the city financial statements. And so it's, that's right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't hesitate to call.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
I know,
Jackson?
I just had a question for you. I know you had mentioned there was some different things when we had received the audit. Was there anything of concern
No,
that you saw?
no.
Okay. Because I
I'm
didn't.
still learning to understand.
Yeah, nothing stood out, so I wanted to double check with you
Yeah, no.
before we moved on anything. Okay.
The one thing I did notice from that audit that I just kind of had questions about was I think it was the Percy and the amount of benefits given out, and over the next several years, we are in the negative. So I was just curious about. No, I marked it. On page,
16.
is it 16?
I can tell you, I can't answer Percy. That would have been a question for
It's a
Dennis.
gentleman.
Oh, it would have been for him, okay.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I wasn't, No, it wasn't, yeah. Okay, give me 1 second here, sorry. I didn't know.
Good call.
Okay. It was, and I can always follow up on this too. Oh, so it was page
Is it page
30.
Okay.
Yeah, so was it 30? Yeah, beneficiaries. In September. Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah, so the pension liabilities, yeah, so what I was trying to understand on page 30, it gives over, the outflows of resources related to, and it was from 2024 to 2027, and 2027, we're at negative 13,000 for money going out, so that's based on inflation, salary increases, investment rate of return, so I was curious about how do we avoid that going into the negative moving forward? Is that just thinking about for employees and for benefits? I was more, yeah, I'm not sure what funds that is, that interest, so why are we going into the negative?
I would be happy to call Dennis and ask him about
Okay,
this.
okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't know if that was appropriate to ask when he was giving the presentation or not, so.
He seems like a very open book too
Yeah,
for
okay,
conversation,
okay,
so.
great.
But to me, that, give me a call seemed very genuine.
Okay,
so.
great, okay.
Yeah. Here, if no one else has any questions or comments, I will make a motion to accept the City of Bellevue financial statements year ended September 2023.
Second.
Roll call, please, Michelle.
Member Mahoney,
Yes.
President Giordani,
Yes.
Member Obina,
Yes.
Member Leahy,
Yes.
Member Shea,
Yes.
Thank you.
And John.
Oh, my goodness, I'm on camera. I'm losing it today, sorry.
Yes. Carrera was a yes.
Yes, I got it. Oh, yes.
All right. Thank you, everyone. All right, discussion, review, and consideration of the State of Idaho Department of Environmental Quality funding application for drinking water project. You'll see we have a couple items here. We have the state revolving fund loan and then a leading Idaho funding. These come from two different projects. One is our primary water infrastructure upgrades, and that's going to be on the leading Idaho funding. And then the state revolving fund, I believe, is lead copper service inventory. Lead service copper inventory is a program that the EPA pushed through 2 years ago. We've actually cities should have had their lead service line inventory done about 6 years ago, but there was no enforcement mechanism. Now EPA has put an enforcement mechanism, and we need to have an inventory done by October 23rd, 2024. So we have till about mid-October to knock this out. DEQ had some funds out there to help assist us. I think it's a $50,000 loan. The reason we're looking at it is just kind of offset some of the funding, so we're just not paying it out of pocket right away. We can basically do it monthly installments and knock it out. Shane has a plan on this, and then I think we're in a pretty good spot. We do have some good records that we can build off of, and so we don't have to go do a lot of manual inspections. But we're probably gonna have to send out some flyers, and because we need to know the material on both sides of the meter. So what's going from our mains to the meter and from the meter to the houses. It's required that we understand what's going into people's houses on both sides. If there is lead from the meter to the houses, we just have to let the homeowners or renters know that it is there. If we have to replace anything on our side, we have to give them an opportunity to join in on that construction. But if we're not doing anything, it's kind of on them on how we replace that. This is a new thing for EPA to require systems to do anything from the meter to the house. Typically, that's all on the homeowner. So this is a kind of a big undertaking. We are a little behind the power curve, but this will help us and Shane and gather the information we need and any other stuff. Christina or Shane, am I missing anything or anything you want to bring up on this?
Oh, Mr. Mayor, thank you for that introduction on the financing. I do want to just clarify quickly that the lead service line inventory, the package that you were offered was, yes, $55,000 in loan, but then DEQ did shave off some of that in the form of principal forgiveness. So the actual loan obligation for that $55,000 is $17,854 at 30 years and 1% interest. And of course, you don't have to spread that out over 30 years, certainly. But it's a nice little package that can help support the efforts by the city to conduct that inventory.
This does seem like quite the endeavor.
Yes.
And will Shane have a crew of people to, how's this all work?
So
How long does this take?
you can follow up with Shane. If you want to jump in there, it's up to you.
Yeah. So luckily where we're at as the city is in the, was it 2010 through 2014, we had several mainline replacement projects. So we actually have records of the materials that were used for between that and subdivisions that were put in after the lead and copper rule was passed. Not lead and copper rule, but anyways, since you could use copper. So we've got records that will do our side. Our biggest problem right now is the customer side. So we're probably going to have to use these funds to start sending out some surveys to let them know. And then, yeah, the rest of it where you've got some contractors lined up and that can either test the lines or pothole the lines. So we're just waiting for some funds, and most of it's actually Excel spreadsheet work, luckily at this point.
So they have some test kits that you can, if you can get underneath your, you can get in your crawl space, or if you have a basement, and you can see where your line comes in, you can rub a test on it and see what material it's made out of, or you put a magnet on it, it doesn't stick, it could be lead. But there's ways that we can do some inexpensive testing. We want to try to avoid, potholing is going to be our biggest expense, but you know, with an HVAC jet, we can just do a small hole, suck it up, clean it up, get an idea what's down there, and then fill it back in. So it wouldn't tear up too much. It wouldn't be, it's not the way we want to go. We are pretty fortunate. We only have, how many connections do we have? 1,100, 1,150?
We have 1,150, give or take, probably 10 or so. Yeah.
Could be worse.
But yeah, our biggest concerns are going to be old town, the older homes. You know, we know that the school, they had some fixtures that they had to replace out. It wasn't from our water going in, but it was some of their fixtures going in, and they replaced those last summer when they, right before they started up school. They just noticed that they got higher concentrations since everything had set over the summer, and they cleaned up those. So overall, we are in a pretty good spot. And with, like Shane said, with our record, that should be, it's going to be manageable. It's just going to take some man hours, and we do have the contractors, and we can get people involved, and we can get kits, and there are ways. It's just basically, again, public awareness, public announcement, and people letting, or at least following through with their own testing on their side.
So this seems like more of an awareness project, I feel like, that for the homeowners to be notified if they have lead
Correct.
in their homes, and then they have to deal with it themselves.
Yeah. For the most part, yeah. When it comes down to, so this is the lead service line inventory, then it puts us into a 5-year period where we have to do lead service line replacement. So if there is lead on either side, we have to develop a plan, and then I forget, it's like 10% each year or 20% each year for the next 5 years. We have to do so much replacement until we get all the lead out of the ground. the intent is to get all the lead out. That's one of the marketing campaigns. There's just no safe maximum contaminant level for lead. There's no safe drinking level for it. So we want to get it up as much out as we can. I mean, but there's always going to be something else and something in the new piping that we're using. You hear about PFAS, these forever chemicals and plastics and stuff, and what are we using for pipes right now? So there's always going to be something out there. There's always going to be another project, but this is just one that there is a deadline to actually meet compliance with, and we want to get ahead of it as quickly as we can. And having a session specifically with the principal forgiveness portion of this, it's really a
Fantastic.
pretty good deal for us. Anything else on lead and service, and then we can move into the state revolving fund?
Can I just make a comment on the supporting documents? This might be a Christina thing. On page 10, under City of Idaho Leadership, we're just missing Council Member John Ferrero on that list.
Okay, duly noted.
Thank you.
Could, Michelle, could you send that information over to me?
Just say yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I said, oh, I should have added it, I'm sorry, yes.
Thank you.
Anything else on lead?
I'm excited that we're adding that into the package. I think it's a great, the financial package is really great. We're gonna be able to do a lot for not as much of a loan obligation. And I think for the health and safety of our community, dealing with any lead mitigation is a great thing. So I'm excited about that portion. Thank you.
All right, Christina, state revolving, or sorry, the Leading Idaho funding one.
Yeah, so thank you, Mayor and members of the council and city staff. Having myself and Greg Dye, I believe is on the phone. Greg is one of our project engineers who will be working on this project, along with Stuart. Stuart's actually at another council meeting tonight at the city of Worley, so he's also presenting right now. So so thank you for having us. But yes, the package that you see in front of you includes the SRF application. That's the state revolving fund from DEQ. There's the Leading Idaho funding, and then the lead service line inventory funding. And because they are coming from 3 different pools of money, of course, nothing can be easy. We had to put together 3 separate applications because those will go to DEQ, who is administering all of those funds, but it has to report separately on those. So that is why you have 3 separate application documents, but they each do have, it's the same application, just whether or not something applies is based clearly on what type of funding it is. I'm sure that all makes sense to y'all. There is an action item on, let's see, it is on pages 8 and 9 of each of those applications. And so we'll get into this a little bit, but section 5 at the very bottom of page 8, that is where the mayor, if the council agrees, the mayor will sign and date that. And then on the other side of that page, there's actually an engineering service procurement certification that the city of Bellevue did go through the QBS, so the qualified based process to select a drinking water engineering firm that can assist the city with these types of water projects moving forward. And so your mayor would also execute that document. So there's actually 2 signature pages for each one of those 3 applications. I guess I'm going to pause there. Are there any questions on those applications at this point?
They seemed very thorough.
Yeah.
Thank you. We try and be very thorough. We try to make it very easy for DEQ.
Good thought.
Yeah.
This might be not really very relevant, but, the Highway 75 water main improvements.
Yes.
I felt like that was something we were talking about doing during their highway improvements. Is that still
Yeah,
what we're
no.
trying to do?
We're still piggybacking on any projects that we can to reduce our cost. And that one, they're gonna be tearing up the road so we can get to the pipes, replace, upgrade from 4-inch mains to 10-inch mains, and then lay the bedding in, and then they'll resurface the road onto their dime. So, yeah, we're trying to tie into as many projects as we can.
Great.
Even with the Springbox project and the main line there, the county has made Muldoon Canyon Road to Pine a priority road that they have. And so depending on their budget, we would like to tie in with that one. So, again, it's much easier, it's much cheaper to pair projects together and reduce both of us a little bit of funds.
Yeah.
So.
Great. Kind of excited to get this going.
Yeah. Feels like a big step forward, so thank you to Christina and the Merrick team for getting us to this point.
We're happy to do it. Would you like me to continue on with the rest of the documents? If there's no specific questions related to the applications?
Yes.
Yes.
Please.
Perfect. Okay, so the next document is a narrative document. There really is no action other than just reviewing it. And it sounds like you all have read through that. We have a clarification on the city council members, so I'll make sure to include that. So what we like to do is include that narrative document to give a little bit more background and response, because as you can see, those application forms are just, they're not as thorough as we would like. And so we're not only trying to give clarity to the city and the community as to what this funding is for, but we like to give clarity to DEQ so that they're able to actually take these documents, take them to the legislature and report back to the legislature on certain funding, and then also be able to report back to the EPA on certain funding. And so that's kind of our process. So there really is no action there. There's no signature that's required. Are there any other questions on the narrative document?
I guess I have a question about just the project overview. So looking at the leak detection survey and the Siemens Creek Springs collection, the one thing I'm getting a feedback from a lot in the community is about water pressure. So when all of these are replaced and we go in and replace these lines, will that be resolved?
No, water pressure is based off of I was gonna say the tank elevation and the layout of the lines. Unfortunately, up on Strayhorn, we're up on a bench and we have some of the lowest pressure in town. But as you get down to the bottom end of town, they get too dangerously high where we have to mitigate the pressures. So it's just the original design of things. We were hoping that the booster station would resolve some of that. But the design on the booster station, I would say, is not adequate for what its intent was. So this project won't really affect much of it. There might be some change as we move the main line from the Idaho Ranch to the county road. But we're gonna have to deal with the elevation changes because it's just on a flat, straight downward angle, and we're not gonna dig it 10 feet down at the top so it matches grade all the way down. There's gonna be some up and down. So I do not see us gaining much pressure from this project or pressure changes in this project. basically everything that the city does is based off of the elevation of where the tank's at, and then any back pressure if we turn on the wells. Shane, am I wrong?
Nope, it's basically an elevation issue. And this mainline project won't affect that, but it is addressed in our water facilities plan where we start talking about setting up pressure zones. But we can't do that until we actually, like you said, there are areas of town that need a pressure reducing station before we can do anything. So these projects do not address that, but our long-term water facility plan does.
Okay. Thank you.
And again, just so people are aware, I mean, the biggest problem we have with our pressures is the number of sprinklers on your zones and then potentially second story homes. And we tried to address all the second story homes at the meters and making sure they have the proper flow meters there. But having 8 to 15 sprinkler heads on one zone is where you're gonna have the most problems. So it could be just a redesigning of your sprinkler system. Or go to drip irrigation.
There's a couple just things on the printed document. Will we be seeing just the line inventory methodology document? Like, will we get a final of this once all those little things are inserted?
I will get you as much documentation and final products as you would like.
Okay, great. I just think with this being a big undertaking, I really appreciate the conciseness of this document and how easy it is to kind of understand this project undertaking. And the more information we have as a council, the better off we'll be moving forward. So
I think one thing that has been dropped in the past, and we see it through some of our city CAD paperwork and stuff, is we get the drawings and what is supposed to be there, but we don't always get the as-built. So when they drop something in, it may have been put over here, but due to rock or whatever thing, it gets moved 5-10 feet to the right. So when we go look for a valve, instead of looking in a 5-foot area, we're looking in a 30-foot area trying to find that. So my intent is to get the best as-built reports, so we know exactly what was taken care of, what we actually changed, where everything is moved to as we can.
Fantastic.
And I do want to acknowledge too, just, I'm sure everybody saw, but the loan terms on the state revolving fund, the interest is pretty favorable, because I looked at, back in our audit statement that he had put together, we have a loan from 2010 that was over 3%. So, with how everything's been these days with interest rates, it's really nice to see a 2.5% on this state revolving fund. So I'm grateful for that. So it sounds like
Any other thing that you need to add, Christina?
So just the final 2 items are those authorizing resolutions. I know that they're somewhat not as nice looking as the city of Bellevue usually has for their resolution template, but those are a DEQ required insert in these packages. So you'll see 2 authorizing resolutions. The reason for that is that we're packaging the leading Idaho funds and the SRF funds for that water improvements project. So if you read through that resolution, the project that is identified in the resolution is the water improvements project. Then on the authorizing resolution for the lead service line inventory project, there is 1 resolution to encompass that funding, and that is specifically for the inventory work that the mayor was talking about a little bit earlier, and Shane. So there are several action items on that, and I believe Michelle will do this, but it is mandated that the clerk has to take a roll call vote. The city council, each city council member either indicates, an affirmative or negative response on that. And Michelle would then, as the clerk, need to identify the yays and nays on that. And then the clerk and the mayor would both execute each one of those resolutions, and they would become not only part of the city's record, but these executed documents will go into the final package. Once that is complete, the most important thing here is that the city council is now authorizing its mayor. Right now, that is Chris Johnson. Thank you, Chris. But we know that these projects can move into, they can span a couple, 3 years sometimes based on availability of materials, contractors, the weather. We're in Idaho, right? And so given that, if Chris is not the named mayor at that time and there's another mayor, this authorizes the mayor in general, the person that's been voted and elected by the constituents as the mayor, authorizes the mayor to then execute any documents moving forward. So if there will be contractor pay applications, there will be reimbursement requests that literally it takes all the paperwork and it goes to DEQ. And sometimes those things have to happen very, very quickly, within 30 days. For the time the contractor actually submits that contractor pay application. And what DEQ has ran into and what contractors have ran into, that if it has to go before the council every single time, if there's not a quorum, if there's, all sorts of different things that can go on that cancels a meeting, it can then, impede the progress on that. And contractors get super duper cranky if they're not paid within 30 days. Your engineer, we are not as cranky, but I will just say that in the future, when you're getting into the construction, that is part of their contract with you guys, with the city, is that their payment terms are 30 days. So what these resolutions do is they authorize the mayor to then be able to sign those and get those submitted into DEQ, along with other documents, including these applications tonight. So it would be my recommendation to authorize the mayor to, if the council is agreeable, to execute the resolutions first and then move forward with the application documents and what have you. And I don't have a copy of the agenda, so I don't know how it's all written out, but yeah, that's all I wanted to say about that. Are there any questions?
Do you got anything, Rick?
Nope.
All right. Where do we begin, Michelle?
We're gonna start with the first resolution for the SFR and the lead inventory, correct?
Okay, so you have this in order from A to E?
Well, they're in backwards order that she gave me. I didn't know she wanted the resolutions first, so we're gonna start with
Sorry about
D
that.
first.
Okay.
No, it's okay. So we're gonna start with D first. That's resolution 5361.
I would move to approve resolution 5361, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Bellevue, Idaho, authorizing the mayor to sign all applications, funding agreements, and other documents relating to drinking water improvements project.
Second.
Councilmember Carrero,
Yes.
Councilmember Shea,
Yes.
Councilmember Leahy,
Yes.
President Giordani,
Yes.
Councilmember Mahoney,
Yes.
and Councilmember Ovina.
Yes.
And then we're gonna move on to the second resolution, 5362, for the funding application for the LSL loan.
Okay, I move to approve resolution 5362, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Bellevue, Idaho, authorizing the mayor to sign all applications, funding agreements, and other documents relating to the lead service line inventory project.
Second.
Councilmember Carrero,
Yes.
Member Shea,
Yes.
Member Leahy,
Yes.
President Giordani,
Yes.
Member Mahoney,
Yes.
and Member Ovina.
Yes.
And now we're gonna go to A, which is the application. And we separated out the applications. I don't remember why, but, agenda item A, is for the state revolving fund and the LIF funding application, correct?
Yes.
I move to approve and authorize the mayor to execute the Idaho, sorry, let me start over. Reading it wrong. I move to approve and authorize the mayor to execute the Idaho Department of Environmental Quality funding applications for the state revolving fund. Sorry, that's to execute the Idaho Department of Environmental Quality funding applications for the state revolving fund loan and the Leading Idaho Fund grant, which coincides with the adoption of resolution number 5361.
Second.
Councilmember Shay,
Yes.
Councilmember Mahoney,
Yep.
Councilmember Obanoff,
Yes.
Councilmember Leahy,
Yes.
Member Carrero,
Yes.
President Giordani.
Yes.
And then item B is the review and execution of the LSL loan associated with resolution 5362.
I would move to approve and authorize the mayor to execute the Idaho Department of Environmental Quality funding application document lead service line, which coincides with the adoption of resolution 5362.
Second.
Councilmember Obanoff,
Yes.
Councilmember Shay,
Yes.
Councilmember Leahy,
Yes.
Councilmember Mahoney,
Yep.
Councilmember Carrero,
Yes.
President Giordani.
Yes.
All right, last one.
Okay.
Consideration, review, and approval of the State of Idaho Department of Environmental Quality funding application narrative document.
So I think I misunderstood during the conversation. I thought in your email you wanted them to approve that, but then I just thought you said they don't need to approve it, so I apologize.
Yeah, there is technically nothing for them to do. I mean, they can approve it. That's really a question for your mayor. There is nothing, or not your mayor, but your attorney, excuse me. There's nothing to sign on it. So
Oh, there's nothing to sign. I thought these were separate agreements or something.
No, it's just an overview of the project, basically. So, all right, is there any discussion on the funding application narrative that anybody wants to further discussion? All right, with no action item needed, that is all we have for this meeting.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Hi. Hey, everybody. It's Sean here. I want to say thank you for your prayers and for all the above. I want to give you a quick update. I'm still at Shadow Mountain, but my vocabulary is getting better, and I'm getting my rehab is going way ahead of schedule. I hope to be there in person in a month or two. So there you go.
Perfect, Sean. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, everyone.